Hey everyone, Shawn and Moo today. Sav is playing in a tournament, and we want to show you guys that many of you have been told to stop the slice by doing something like this with your wrist, right? It's a palmar flexion or bowing of the wrist. And for many of you, it stopped the shots to the right, but you got no power still, and you're looking for that extra power. Well, we'll show you a much better way to do things right here, right now. Stay with us.
But before we continue, we would just love for you to be part of the channel. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment or a question down below. Be more than happy to answer.
And please hit the bell so you don't miss any videos, and also smash the like button to give us more views.
Right on.
All right, let's start with Moo here, and he's played a little bit of tennis.
Yeah,
More of a football player than a tennis player.
that's fair.
But we all mess around with other sports. You know, it's a lot of fun. Play with your buddies.
Yeah, when I was young, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So now, if we were going to do a nice power backhand in tennis, what would
Yeah.
that look like?
Here.
All right, show us at impact what it would look like. So you got a nice strong position here with the hand,
Yeah.
right? Now, if we were to take the tennis racket and hold it neutral,
Okay.
I think that's what they called the Western grip at one point.
Yeah.
And now if you wanted to do a top spin,
Yeah.
you would have to do this.
That's right. Come through impact like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So for a big, strong guy like you, that wouldn't be too bad. But if I pushed here, do you feel like that wrist kind of feels compromised?
Yeah, I feel tension right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas what they're doing now,
Yeah.
there we go. So look at the difference now. Notice how it's like punching in that
That's right.
direction,
Yeah, it's a
right?
good analogy, yeah.
And notice where the racket is now. Doesn't
Yeah.
that feel like you could not only stop the tennis ball nicely,
Yeah.
but really send it back with a vengeance?
That's right. I got a nice release through impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we're looking at. Now, if you were playing baseball,
Okay.
show me impact with baseball.
Okay. Now I swing the other way though.
That's all right, look.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's the same powerful position.
Would you ever play baseball like this?
No.
You'd get the wrist ripped off.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of wrist injuries on tour, a lot of wrist surgeries, and the more you bow it, the more compromised you are. There's only a few select players that can really play that way. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Graham McDowell. Even Brooks has had wrist surgery.
Right.
I can't tell you if it was because of that,
Yeah.
but this, to me, is a very compromised position. And as a full-time teacher, it's much easier to do a stronger grip. Now, if we look at the best example is hammering.
Right.
So if you were hammering a nail
Yeah.
on top of that,
Yeah.
yes. So notice you got your radius,
Yeah.
your ulna. Now they're stacked.
Right.
It's very, very strong position for the arm. So if you do a
Yeah.
karate chop
Yeah.
versus a slap.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So now if you wanted to hammer this way,
Okay.
yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Do you see what Moo just did? Notice how he turned the hammer underneath.
Yeah.
Now the radius and the ulna are in a position to compress nicely in that direction.
Right.
So if you're going to put both hands on the hammer like if you're playing golf,
Okay. Yeah.
we'll do it back toward the camera. Go ahead and go straight down,
Okay.
right? Put the other hand on.
All right.
Exactly. So notice both snuff boxes are on top.
Yeah.
This would be considered a neutral grip.
Okay.
Just two knuckles on this side, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Now, if you were going hammering this way,
Yeah.
look what Moo just did.
Yeah.
So notice radius ulna on both arms,
Yeah.
ready to compress this way.
Yeah.
What people tend to do is this is them hammering down. They're going to do this to try and play golf with.
Right.
So
That's-
notice how this is really open, and what happens when I'm coming through, let's say thick rough, dense rough, and you got all this pressure up against the hand, then you're getting a compromised lead arm. And many of you are struggling through golfer's elbow because of that. So if we put you in dynamic alignment with your anatomy, then you're in a much stronger position in relation to the target. Look at Bubba Watson. Look at Webb Simpson. Look at Paul Azinger. So many strong grippers out there on the PGA Tour, way more than neutral grippers, okay?
Yeah.
So there's a secret to what's going on.
That's right, yeah.
And so that's why with both you and Sav, and then you'll see I'm putting a nice little picture of Sav right next to us right now. She's with us,
Yeah.
of course. But you look at how strong that grip is of hers, and it's you know, we've had a lot of comments about that, and they're thinking that that grip is a grip to snap hook. And for a lot of players, they think, okay, I'm going to hook a lot with this grip, but they're not in relation to the target, they're in relation to the ball. So if you got this grip and you go after the ball, obviously you're going to close the face prematurely,
Yeah.
and then you end up hooking the shot.
Right.
So you'll notice while I'm performing right here some shots on our Rapsodo, if I have a neutral grip like I just showed you with a square face and I'm swinging toward the target, you'll notice my shot is going way off to the right, because there's no way for me to square that up unless I really bow my wrist, right? Dorsiflex my trail hand and palm flex my front hand. And that's it's a very compromised position when you overdo it. And then I'm going to have to add some body language to that to, you know, make sure I don't lose my shot off to the right.
That's right.
So, and then you'll notice if I overdo it, if I close it too much, so I've got a strong grip and I'm closing it too much, you'll see how the shot goes off way lower and curves a lot to the left. And then in between, so what we're looking for is the ability to find the target.
Right.
So when we're, you know, if you're playing tennis or if you're playing baseball, here's your club there, Moo.
Thank you.
I'm closing the face. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to close the face, then take the grip. This grip is nice and round for a reason. So when I'm, you know, close the face, then grip. So if I continue closing, notice how my grip never changes. See that? I can do a full 360 in my hands, and notice I'm still with my, you know, hammer that way, arm position. So now the deal is the target's over there. So we're collecting the ball from where it is and we're releasing it into that picture. If I am statically squared, dynamically open, look what happens. So every instrument known to humanity has been designed handle first in mind. If I had a machete in here and I was cutting through a bamboo shoot, well, I wouldn't do that. Notice how lead, I get to the ground, I'm using the ground to get the body out of the way, the elbow leads, then the hand, then the blade, then the tip of the blade, and then the tip of the blade catches up to my hands over here. So peak speed is out there. And I'm doing the same thing with the golf club. So imagine you've seen this, go to my video entitled Grass Whip Training, and we show you how to close the grass whip there as well, so we get through. So we close the face, and now we're swinging through. So notice when the hands lead, the club face is square. If the hands don't lead, the club face is closed. So if I release at the ball down here and to make the ball my target, I get the hook. But if I release at the target, changes everything. So let's look at, I'm going to get an intermediate point here. I'm going to hit a draw from the blue post back to the red post. My intermediate point is right there going to red post. Set up to that. Play the ball a smidgen back in my stance. And now I'm going to swing to the right of that intermediate point. Now for many of you who tend to slice the ball, if I were to tell you to swing from in to out, you'd think I'd had a screw loose, because you know that shot's not coming back, right?
Yeah.
It's like self-sabotage. It's going straight into the trees.
Right.
So if your face is too open, you'll swing out to the left. You'll come over the top and make sure you don't lose it to the right. So you're going to start it to the left so it can fade back to the center of the fairway. But because my club face is closed enough, that shot starts off just a hair right of the red flag and is drawn right back onto the red flag. And that was absolutely compressed. I don't know if you heard the sound of that, but that was right in the center of the club face right there. And the ball just rockets off the face when the face is closed enough. It slides off the face if the face is too open. So if you feel the ball sliding off the face, there's probably nothing wrong with your swing. You're just starting with a club face that's way too open to begin with. And there's only so much that you can do with this. If you did it since you were this high and you've been playing golf your whole life and your body has adapted to that, that's different. Like, there's no way I'd go see Dustin Johnson right now and tell him to change his grip. That would be crazy. So what we do instead, you know, for most of everyone that's been listening, you've been playing golf, you know, for a certain amount of time in your adult life, and you already have a lot of things in the bank that you've already been doing very naturally. Like, you wouldn't hammer nails like this, would you? Look at the position that my hand is taking. Very solid. There's my snuff box. Bang. This is not a cupped wrist. This is an anatomically functional wrist. If I'm going fishing, right? Moo, you fish, don't you?
Yeah.
Moo's a fisherman.
Yeah.
So you're loading on that snuff box and releasing the fishing rod out there. If I release the fishing rod farther, well, there's your tennis serve. Notice that beautiful release. So when you're doing a tennis serve, it's here, right on that snuff box. And it's the same thing with baseball. You would never see this in baseball. I mean, you'd get your wrist blown right off. So there is that. So when I'm coming through, notice the position of that lead hand. It is mega solid, mega strong. And that's what we're seeing in tennis in their backhands, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you close the face, take your normal grip. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get your wrist to properly set, properly hinge. So have a look at all our grip videos. We have the most important video on grip ever, and then you're going to see best video on grip ever, right?
Yeah.
So it shows you how to put both hands together. You got an umbrella. There's a nice solid umbrella. And then you've got that kitchen knife. So you see knife the grip, Shawn Clement. So we got a super nice grip with a nice set of the wrists. So if we get a nice set of the wrists with a dynamically square face, statically closed face, then we're going to be able to whip that sucker out there toward the target and never have to worry about where the ball's going to go. So let's have a more ground. Hit that okay?
Yeah. It stayed straight. I
Good.
hit left edge.
232.
Whoa. It wasn't carrying that yesterday.
No?
No, it was like 215,
Wow.
220. But I'm staying along the ground a lot better today.
Lower, longer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was 221 carry. That had a lot of air on that one.
All right. So how about them apples, huh? 221 carry.
Yeah.
The other one was a little more of a, got a little bit of a flyer. We're a little bit in rough right here.
Yeah.
So, but that's how you do it. That's how strong you stay with your anatomy. So if your anatomy's lined up properly, you're going to hit very powerful, very effortlessly powerful shots. The last thing you want to do is strain the muscles in your forearm or the tendons in the forearm for that matter, because that leads to really nagging stuff like tennis elbow or golf elbow. and it's really not going to help your performance as far as power is concerned, unless, of course, you're Dustin Johnson, in which we apologize for this video. All the best. See you next week.